Welcome to Brain Friends, where two neuro nerds talk all things aphasia, language recovery, culture, and community. I am Dr. Dictrina Celeste Gatson, a clinical speech-language pathologist and neuroscientist.
And I am Angie Cawthorn, stroke survivor and aphasia advocate.
Welcome to our show.
Welcome to Brain Friends.
We want to thank all of our listeners for downloading the podcast. We appreciate everyone listening, so please tell a friend to tell a friend that we are here.
And we are.
Hey, Angie.
Hey, Dr. Celeste, how are you?
I'm doing really good. I've been resting. I just celebrated a birthday. Absolutely loved it. So all is well. Glad to be, look, on this side.
Oh, come on now. Come through this side. And listen, we are celebrating June is Aphasia Awareness Month. Let me ask you this. Well, first of all, let's get into our icebreaker.
Okay, so today's icebreaker is, what is your favorite thing to do by yourself?
For me, I'm going to say my favorite thing to do is to cook or bake. I like to do that by myself. I don't like people around. It makes me nervous. I start doing extra stuff because I want to look extra. I want to, you know what I mean? Drop the, I want to be extra cookie.
And you turn into Salt Bae.
Right. For no reason. Knowing good and hell well, I don't need no more salt. But that's what happened. So I wound up almost showing off. And then it's not as good. So when I bake by myself, I could just do me.
Yeah.
Because baking is a very simple, and cooking is very simple. It's not about it's about the flavor. It's about adding that extra, not adding that extra, but staying true to what you do and making it really good.
Mm-hmm.
And you've had some of my baking.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Your baked sweets. So good. Worth every calorie.
See, and that's when I was actually very honored because you're so fit. You're always in the gym. You could have been like, "Oh, girl, this is good, but I can't. I'm trying to, do whatever." And you were like, "No, this is good. I'm eating the whole thing." So that was,
and it wasn't too sweet either, because sometimes people can go too sweet.
This is what I'm saying. If somebody was watching me, I would have put too much in there.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
See?
Yeah.
So what about you? What do you love to do alone?
I like to play in dirt.
Okay. I've seen on your Instagram that you are a DIY and plant lady.
Yes.
And you will hook it up.
Parenting, which is plant parent. And so I'll play in some dirt, I'll, propagate a pothos really quick. And so I like to play in dirt. So since 2011, that was when, I became a parent. And now I find that if I'm by myself, then I will just
dig in.
Mm-hmm.
We should do something for the therapy that provides.
Oh, yeah. I think that there are so many different right brain types of activities that can really help with language recovery.
And so let me ask you this real quick. If I'm doing things that integrate my right side, which is the creativity side of your brain, and the left side is the language, the executive, the things that make things go in order. It's not as creative and free. It's very mathematical. Me doing things that engage that other creative side will help me with my language.
It definitely can. I think that that's one of the things that makes the brain so unique, is that in areas that have been damaged, we know that with neuroplasticity, it can strengthen and reroute. And so if you're doing something that is creative, that right brain hasn't been tapped into, you might find a new way to communicate using, different words, or maybe your communication might become painting or just finding different outlets. I think it definitely decreases stress as well. That can help with being able to produce your words. If you're so stressed and you're getting tense, if you're able to tap into some of those other techniques, it could be supportive.
That is awesome. Being that it's Aphasia Awareness Month, we're going to have Maura on, and she's the executive director over at the National Aphasia Association.
Yeah, let's listen into that conversation.
We have my good friend Maura Silverman. Hi, Maura.
Hi,
Hi.
Maura.
Hey guys, thank you so much for having me. I feel so honored that I am a guest on this show. I use this show for orientation, for onboarding. I tell everybody about it, but apparently I don't need to because it's quite popular in itself. But so I'm fangirling a little on y'all today. So thanks for having me.
Oh, we're
We
so excited to have you.
are executive director of the NAA.
What's NAA?
The NAA stands for the National Aphasia Association. It's a 37-year-old organization started by Dr. Martha Sarno and just continues to grow, thrive, serve, engage. And wow, I mean, I've been working with the NAA since I started in the field. So what an honor to be able to be in this position of working alongside of the people that want to advocate for people with aphasia at a bigger scale like this. It's amazing.
Wow. So how long have you been in the executive directorship?
Well, I previous to this job, I had founded and ran a nonprofit organization of an aphasia center here in North Carolina called the Triangle Aphasia Project. It is my fifth baby, so I have four boys, but it is as much of my child as any of my other. And I watched it grow, and it was time to let it fly to new leadership. And the opportunity came here in September of last year. So I am about 7, 8 months in to the position as executive director of the National.
Well, Maura, before I get into the first question, tell me a little bit about your journey as far as your career. Did you just wake up one day? Well, I know you had shared earlier that you had your own private practice, but are you a speech language pathologist by training?
I am. So I started out in psychology thinking, I know I want to help people. I wasn't sure what else I wanted to do. And then I remember observing a session with a speech pathologist, and she was working with a businessman in our area up in upstate New York. And I knew him, so I knew how bright he was. And he was struggling to get his thoughts into words. And it tore me up, but it also motivated me and inspired. And it was that aha moment. So I became a speech language pathologist, and I was able to have incredible opportunities in leading up to running TAP, because I kept thinking there has to be more for people with aphasia and their families. And so I didn't want to be in that broom closet that I was in my very first job. And I wanted to be into the gym where they were working out, or I wanted to be where they worked and where they served and volunteered. And so I kept adding to my vision. And it was 21 years ago that I quit my really good job to start a nonprofit, but it was the best decision I ever made. So, yeah.
Wow. And so what do you know about aphasia now that you wish you would have known day one?
Yeah, such a great question, because I think that I was one of those people that knew that what I was doing was inherently right, and instinctively I knew that people should be working on things that they loved and their passion, but I was trained to do worksheets and drill and exercises, and it never felt right. And I remember people saying, okay, well, that's enough chit chat, let's get to work. And I'm like, chit chat's the goal. that's what we want to be able to do again independently.
Yes.
So I think I wish I knew more about neuroplasticity. Of course, it developed over my career, more knowledge about it and understanding. But I wish I knew that it was okay to go with my gut and work with people's passions and interests, because I did it, but I felt like I was maybe doing something that I shouldn't have been doing.
Right.
I should have been structured, and I was always
Right.
much more conversational. So yeah, that's such a great question.
Let me jump in here and ask you a question.
Of
Is
course.
there a specific story or experience that motivates the NAA's work in raising awareness about aphasia?
Another great question. I have like my personal answer to that, and then probably the NAA's answer. My personal answer to that is, I had started TAP and I was working really hard on allowing people with aphasia their voices. And I was leaving group work one day and couldn't reach my mom, and she had suffered a massive left hemisphere stroke, had aphasia. Great cosmic irony, is this a curse or is this a gift? And it was literally an unselfish, totally Joan English thing to do, to teach me how to help people with aphasia by experiencing it herself. So I got to see from the other side healthcare issues and friends and family, and really where the gaps were. I think my experience with the NAA is to be able to look. I think the NAA would do best to serve people in a very interactional manner, to not be the big computer program behind the computer where you ask a question about aphasia and the NAA spits out the answer. Rather, hear your story, find out where your barriers are, see how we can help you connect to the amazing programs and providers that are all across this country. I mean, what a responsibility and what an honor. So yeah, I would say that.
Oh, wow, that is awesome. And it
Hmm.
is in Aphasia Awareness Month. What are the specific initiatives that the NAA is doing to raise a public awareness about aphasia?
So the NAA every year has kind of a theme, right? So, which I learned a couple months ago that I need to come up with a theme, but it was actually very easy because it fit directly into what we've been trying to do since we got together and talked about, aphasia voices. We need to make them louder. We need to make them broader and reach everybody. So our theme this year is amplify aphasia voices. One of the frustrating things to me is that there's often so much of a bar or a threshold people want to be able to do, that they leave all the errors that people make in normal on the cutting room floor. And editing is fine to a degree, but if you don't see other people in your that are making mistakes and having aphasic errors, then those
Hmm.
people are never going to feel confident in getting out into the world and being. And
Yes.
so I think it's important to see people like yourself, to hear people like yourself. So we have a lot of work to do in raising that voice, amplifying it, improving equity, and so much that we can do. And in that, we're doing three big initiatives this year. One is we are having films about aphasia, because where do people
Oh.
get a lot of their information? Movies and films. And so every Monday in June, we have Movie Monday. And so grab your popcorn. And these producers and actors have allowed us to use their films every Monday to educate people about aphasia. So they'll be able to tune in and watch those. And then we have Be the Voice of Aphasia, where we're going to talk about aphasia facts, but not us. People with aphasia, not people without aphasia, people with aphasia telling the facts.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, honestly, in 2022, we did a survey. The National Aphasia Association did a survey, and we were so proud because we raised awareness from 7% when people asked about,
Mhm.
do you know what aphasia is? And can you identify it as a language disorder? 7% in 2016. In 2020, it went up to 40%. Or
Wow.
2022, I'm sorry. And a lot of that was Bruce Willis being diagnosed with aphasia. but there still is that need that there's 60% of people that still don't know what it.
Right. So
So,
important.
yeah. And so the last initiative is actually my favorite, and it's called Library Showcase Project,
Ooh.
because libraries across the country always have displays about, a month, whatever month it is, a special month. And now it's time to engage our community, people with aphasia, their families, providers, anybody, everybody. Go into your library and say, I want to do a display about aphasia through the month of June. I'll take a week, I'll take a day, but give me a table. And we have a whole set of resources on our website. That is a PowerPoint. We have display ideas. We have resources that people can put up there. So we're encouraging people to help us amplify the voice.
So tell me how that would work. So I would go into like my Barnes and Noble here in New Jersey and tell them I want to set it up, and then you guys would send me the material.
Well, I'd love if you did at Barnes and Noble. We're targeting specifically libraries because they tend
Okay.
to have community outreach already. But boy, it'd be great for Barnes and Noble to do it too. Yeah, so you go in and there's a whole presentation of how you go in. You can email it to them. You can directly go in and show them the packet. And then we give you ideas of materials, and we also give you some materials that you can print off and put up there. You can also put objects or things that represent aphasia. I'd bring my brain, my other little schematic brain, and really cool initiative because it puts the power to the people that want to help and advocate and amplify. So
That is phenomenal. And then Dr. Celeste, I think you have one more question.
I do have one. Yep, I have one more question. Okay, well, my one question you already answered, which was how can we bring awareness to aphasia? And I love those three things that the NAA are doing during this month. And so I guess my follow-up question would be that if you had three specific people or organizations that you would tell about aphasia or need to know more about aphasia, and not necessarily you as a representative of the NAA, but rather it's students, myself, who would they be? What organizations do you think would benefit from knowing more about aphasia?
Well, it's such a great question because you have to think about, who's going to be able to impact people right away. And the very first thing you think of is hospitals. And from emergency rooms on, the nurses, doctors, people that are in hospitals, but that may not be directly interacting, even the receptionist or physical therapy, all those allied health providers need to know about aphasia so that they engage someone knowing they are cognitively competent, but linguistically challenged. And I think that that's a huge one. The other ones are, really in the community. So I'm going to group some of those together. I remember taking my mom to the bank and or the doctor's office, and they always would look at me and they would say, what does she want to do, or how's she doing? And I'm like, she's right here. But I think without that understanding of really the cognitive competence piece, it doesn't allow for those people to interact in the way that would create that independence and confidence for the person. So yeah, those would be the people that I would really target. And, as you are teaching these younger, the students coming up, they need to know it's okay to be doing, you get to know the person with aphasia, get to know where their communication barriers are, because the greatest therapy you can get that you don't have to pay for is life, right?
Yeah.
Everybody always thinks therapy is life. Therapy is not. No, it's not. Life is therapy. Life has opportunities for therapeutic interactions all the time.
Oh, that's perfect.
That's a bar.
Okay, mic drop.
Yeah, exactly, right?
I'm done.
Make sure we get that mic drop in there.
Yeah. One of the things that I would definitely say, though, is that, yes, it would be wonderful, as many people want, a spokesperson for aphasia. But at the same time, I've argued that you see one person with aphasia, you've seen one person with aphasia, and you need to be very careful about identifying somebody because of their, notoriety, their status, as this is aphasia, because aphasia impacts everybody differently. And so I would really think the best thing we can do to advocate is to create lots of noise, lots of voices out there, so that people don't think of aphasia and think it's this or it's that, because it's not. It's very individualized. So,
Oh, you got me all sorts of excited. This was so good. No, seriously, like just even, ending in that way. When you see one person with aphasia, it's one person with aphasia. And I'm thinking about even going to my local grocery store and, asking, because the only thing they could do is say no. But I could ask them every year to bring awareness. And I challenge other individuals to really do something different for this month to help bring awareness of aphasia to your community and beyond. That was so good.
It was excellent. Thank you, Maura.
I do have a question for you, and it's one of the questions that, we ask her. And so if I can ask you the same, which is, what do you know about aphasia now that you wish you would have known day one?
That it exists and that it's not beatable, because it's no cure, but there is healing in it.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I would have known that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, that this cave isn't consistently dark, and that if you do the work, better accessibility to words can come. What about you?
I think one thing that I know about aphasia now that I wish I would have known day one is it is so much more than a loss of language for individuals.
Come through, Doc. Come through, Doc.
Yeah.
Through.
I think, in school, when you're learning about it, you learn about the types, you categorize the types, you learn about the different terms. And so sometimes you might even approach individuals with that type of ABC mentality, like, oh, okay, you made this mistake. Okay, so this is what this is. And I think in that you lose that there's a legit, real person that's in there. It's not just that they have a loss of words or that they're not able to communicate the things that they want to say. It's that a piece of their identity has also been up for grabs, as you say sometimes, and that my role as a speech language pathologist is greater than just helping you be able to say your words. It's about helping you find that new normal, helping you integrate back into your community, helping spread awareness. And so I think that that's something I wish I would have known day one.
It's because first of all, that is absolutely a beautiful, beautiful thing. And how much more aphasia is, rather than just, I can't say my words, I can't write. It really does pick at the essence of a person. It's and the thing that always really amazed me about it is how clear it is in my head. It's not jumbled in my head. It's not halting in my head. And but it's absolutely fascinating to me. So,
and in good news, I know that they are starting to do studies on that inner voice, that in your head talk that so many people have reported. And so I think that that's one thing that does get me excited, especially as we think about aphasia awareness and bringing more awareness to aphasia, is that there are different things to look at besides just the verbal expression piece and how many words someone can say. Now they're starting to look at some of the cognitive pieces around aphasia and things like, what is that inner voice that you hear, that you're able to say everything right, and what does that tap into? So since we do have Aphasia Awareness Month, we also have another aphasia friend that stopped by to give us their thing that they wish they would have known about aphasia day one. Here's G.
Hi, this is G. Jackson. I live in New York City. I want to start off by getting a big, shout out to Brain Friends podcast with the creators, Dr. Celeste and Angie Carthon. They asked me to answer some questions for them, so I'm going to, answer them. The first question is, what do you know about aphasia that you wish you had known on day one? One key aspect of aphasia that I wish I had known on day one was the incredible potential for recovery through neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to reorganize and form new connections throughout life. So this means that even after significant damage from a stroke, your brain can adapt and improve language with the right therapy and practice. So understanding that concept earlier would have given me more hope and internal support during my earlier years of my stroke. And the second question is, how can we bring awareness to aphasia? I would say, keep it simple. Talk to your family, talk to your friends, strangers. You can do speeches, anything that puts the spotlight on aphasia, because people don't understand what aphasia is, and that will help, the world. And that's what I wanted to say. And I just want to thank you, Angie. I'm going to be watching Brain Friends because it's my favorite podcast. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Right.
Shout out to G, and thank you so much for being available to us. And I absolutely agree with her. The knowledge of neuroplasticity would have been a game changer. But I don't know if maybe somebody had, I don't think they mentioned it to me until much later. But even if they had, I wouldn't have been able to receive it.
Mm-hmm.
It was just words, because I'm really looking for not a pill, but I'm like, okay, neuroplasticity, that's great. Well, where do I buy that? You know what I mean? Like, we're always wanting something to be instant. But, thank you to G and to Maura for coming through and just dropping those gems.
Yeah. Well, before we get out of here, I just want to challenge everyone to do your part this month with Aphasia Awareness Month. You can tell 3 people you don't know about aphasia. You can send them to the NAA, the National Aphasia Association. We'll have that information linked. You can donate to Arch or Rosa. Angie, tell the people about Arch and Rosa.
Rosa is the resource orientation for stroke and aphasia. We are having our 3rd annual conference in October. And it's going to be a great day.
All righty. And then the last thing that you can do is always share an episode of Brain Friends. Thanks so much.
Come through, Brain Friends. Come through, Brain Friends. Thanks, Dr. Celeste.
Thank you. Bye.
Peace, y'all.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Brain Friends. Please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite streaming platform. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Brain Friends, the podcast.